Now, the Dune franchise is one of the coolest sci-fi settings ever made, and as we all know, it inspired Star Wars. It's inspired 40K and everything. Uh, and the fighting style in the this universe with the personal shields and daggers and swords, I mean, it is fantastic. It provides so cool cinematic fighting to, I mean, it's off the chart, right? That said, though, if you start to think about it for just a few moments, you kind of quickly realize that the way it's depicted in the books and depicted on screen, it doesn't add up with the technology and how it all works, how it's described. Now, like I said, it is super cool and I mean, rule of cool off the charts. But as it's described, is that the shields stops fast moving objects, and you need to be slow about it. Push the blade slowly through the shield in order to reach your opponent. So move too fast and the shield will counter you, as you can see here in the sequence, and it explained, you can see there how slow the blade has to move in order for the blade to connect with the target. So fast swashbuckling fighting, it doesn't work with the shields. What the things we're seeing here can't be done if you have shields, which everyone in the scene has. You can't make these attacks. You can't make these kinds of stabs, especially when Duncan runs into a guy who is on the move. It's simply not possible. So what you end up with is you you have to grapple your opponent and then slowly push the blade through, so at a point where he cannot counter your blade, he cannot grab your arm or strike the blade out of the way or move about so the shield works against you. And that means in order to inflict harm on your enemy, it needs to be slow, methodical, and it's going to look a bit like this. Now, imagine that these are two combatants in the Dune franchise, in the Dune universe, and they have their personal shields. They're struggling, they're fighting, and the shield is now in the shield, slowly moving through the shield. Any big movements will stop the blade from moving. This is how a kill in the Dune universe would look like. Extremely brutal. And because the shield prevents the blade from moving quickly, you have to be slow and methodical, overpower the enemy, and then slowly move the blade through the shield. So that sequence that we just saw, that is how you can score a hit, score a kill with these personal shields. You can't flail about, you can't swashbuckle, you can't fight like we see in the big fights. We can't fight like we see Duncan Idaho do. You have to grapple the enemy, pin him down, and then slowly push the knife through the shield. The problem is, of course, that only works if the other guy is unarmored and has no protection uh, except for that shield. Because if you well and truly want to survive, you obviously would wear a suit of armor in combination with that shield. Because the only thing that can kill you is that slow moving blade. So if you wear a suit of armor, that slow moving blade will not have kinetic force to be able to hurt you, right? So the shield takes away the force and the power of the knife or the sword, and then the suit of armor removes any advantages that the edges and the points might have. So, and we're seeing it, of course, in the new movies, these cool designs for suits of armor and what have you. So, shield in combination with suits of armor makes the weapons, the favored weapons in Dune, basically useless. At least you can't swashbuckle with them. You have to be slow, methodical, and it's going to be extremely brutal when you do score that kill. And to prove my point, we're gonna be borrowing deck with them here, YouTuber. I'm gonna leave links down below to the videos. We're gonna use snippets. I'm a small YouTube channel here. I can't make any money out of this, so I hope they're okay with this, that I'm borrowing a couple of seconds of their content to sorry, show you what armored fighting would look like. And then, I mean, just imagine if we add shields to the armored fighting that we're about to see. So here we're seeing some tests with a knife against the most basic types of armor, cloth and chainmail, not the big plate. So you can see here that he barely gets within, and take a look now that he's leaning on it. You see, that's what you need to do. You need to get the point in and then put all your weight and all your strength into the dagger to push it through. So just imagine if you have a shield that removes the kinetic force, removes the momentum of that knife. So this is what Dune fighting should look. This is what it should look like. You should have these daggers. You should grapple. You need to push the knife through the shield, find the gap in the armor, and then put all your strength and all your weight into that blade in order to push through not only the shield but also the suit of armor in order to score that kill. So here we have a unchoreographed fight from deck with them, link down below, and you just imagine that you're having a Harkonnen versus Atreides in this fight. When they have their personal shields, grappling, and they're trying to overpower each other. And I mean, this is what fighting looks like when they have suits of armor, or the shields that do remove the kinetic force of the knives, right? So they need to retrieve their daggers in order to find a chink in the armor and then apply pressure to get through the layers of protection. And it's brutal. It is not fancy. It's not swashbuckling. This is what Dune fighting would look like. Just apply the proper suits of armor, and there you go. He found an opening, and now you can see how it represents driving it in. Deck with them, links down below. You have to go check out everything they're doing. It is just fantastic. So that is what Dune fighting would look like realistically. I mean, if they have shields that removes the speed of the blade, it just gonna devolve into brutal grappling, where you will eventually lean with all your weight onto the dagger when you find a chink in the armor and push it through. It's gonna be brutal fighting, and not the fancy swashbuckling that we're seeing in the movies, because it doesn't work. I mean, they show us how slow the blade needs to be moving, and put all of this together, it ends up being grappling and violence and overpowering the opponent, and then slowly pushing the knife into your opponent while you're looking him in the eye. Now, me personally, I have always thought, I mean, it makes more sense to push a gun through the shield than a knife. Get the gun through. You don't need to look for a chink in the armor. Just get it aimed at the opponent. Just push it through and then pull the trigger, and you will do some type of harm on that opponent. You might wound him. You might wound him severely so that he bleeds out. You don't need to worry about finding the chink in the armor. You don't need to lean all your weight into the weapon to injure him or kill him. You just need to get that gun through the armor so you can open fire at point blank range. And I think it would work well that you kind of you might have some fancy swashbuckling style fighting with the pistols, kind of like you see gun kata in Equilibrium, maybe combined with the brutal realism of John Wick when they use guns up close while doing jujitsu and stuff like that. And I think that would suit the Dune setting really nicely. That type of fighting where you're trying to outmaneuver the enemy with your pistol to get in close to push through the shield and pull the trigger when you're point blank, instead of doing the same with swords and daggers that, as we've seen in this video, it's almost impossible to score a kill when you have shields combined with armor. So a gun being used kind of like gun kata in combination with John Wick would make for really cool fighting style, I think. Now, I've made a couple of videos on the topic of Dune before. Lots of Dune fans got upset with me in the video "The Fights in Dune Do Not Work," where I basically go over the same things I've done in this video. Did not show armored fighting in that video, and the people got really upset that I did point out these flaws in the setting. And then I also made a video about the big battle in the second movie, how it is the worst sci-fi battle in Hollywood, because it makes no sense. They have, in the movies at least, they show us that they are not afraid of using lasers next to shields. They show us this on multiple occasions in the movies, which means that when the Fremen attack in the end with this huge army, all the Sardaukar need to do is grab hold of a couple of those last guns that they use to cut through walls, and just swing them back and forth, and they will kill every Fremen on sight. So, I mean, it's just silly. Anyway, so I'm gonna leave links to these videos if you're interested as well. And I guess that's it. Yeah, if you want, Dune fighting should realistically be grappling and extremely brutal, and I think they should be using guns instead of knives. Anyway, that's it. I hope you found it interesting, and that I'll see you in the next one. Bye.